Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hot Poll Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Steele, and joining me is Mr. Liam Wright. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Wow, you're shouty today. Let's turn that down a
Sorry.
little. No, I mean, the microphone is shouty rather than just you. This is good. It's always easier to turn it down than it is to turn it up and up and up and then blow your ears out when someone coughs. What a week it has been. How's your week been?
It's pretty same old, really. Nothing really to write home about. Other than my awesome new crazy hoodie, which came today, which I'm very happy with. It's got cherry blossom all over it.
Pretty.
Fully printed. Yeah, I got an advert on Facebook for some hoodies, and I was like, they look horrible. I need one. And then I went on there, and it's just full of like full print, really garish designs. So I couldn't resist.
Cool.
So I've got a few other. I've got another one as well. It's crazy sort of cyberpunk style.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Facebook, I'd say.
I haven't clicked on a Facebook ad in years, but they do work. But yes, my week's been very busy because of NAMM. I think I said last week, I'm not going to do NAMM this year. I'm not going to bother. And then, as typically happens, they sent me an email like the night before. I thought, you know what? I'll sign up. And then there was a big list of companies, and you could press a button to just organise meetings with companies. And I thought, right, let's do it.
That's cool.
So,
You're saying it's almost better organised than the real thing?
Almost. Yeah, you don't have to shout at each other. It's basically you just get patched through to wherever those people are and just have a Skype call with them, basically. Yeah, it's good. Cool. So yeah, it's almost more useful. Because unless...
I was going to say, they should... Marty sent me a link to a thing called Gather, which is like... If you imagine... It's like a Pokemon-style office that you can walk around in. And it's got location-based audio and video.
So if you make eye contact with somebody, do they have to battle you?
Yeah, that's officially the rules. Yeah, as you move, it's like proximity based. That's it. And yeah, we've been trying that out at work this week, and it's been a lot of fun. Making your own pixelated office and stuff. Cool. But they have like convention booths and stuff that you can have up to like 1,000 people or something stupid in one of these spaces.
Right.
So you genuinely could do a NAMM style event with it. Very cool.
Sounds interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of NAMM news this week, but I'll tell you all about my experience with NAMM, and there's a few other news articles as well. Aside from that, it's been a busy week, so we'll talk about that after the intro. There we go. The intro has happened. The beacons have been lit. Gondor calls for aid. So yes, it's been a very busy week for me, actually. Because aside from the NAMM stuff, I've been getting a lot of video editing done, wrapping up on a lot of projects. People will have seen on the channel, there's been a few videos this week. It's been quite active, which is great. The Toneforge Jeff Loomis video went out. The Adam Audio S2V video went out. And we're here, and then I've got another video coming out tomorrow for the Austrian Audio Hi-X55 headphones. Yes, so things are... Yeah, I know. I've been a bit on it. As I've told Liam, I'm going to be moving house fairly soon. So I need to kind of get my ducks in a row so that there are going to be videos over that period, the transition period as I become inaugurated as the president of a new household. Yes, good times all round.
Yeah, that happened this week as well.
Yes, it did. So, yeah, I'm not going to say too much about that, but yeah, good things all around. But yeah, between keeping an eye on that whole thing whilst looking after child and everything else, oh boy, what a week it's been. But yeah, hello everybody in chat. I hope you're all doing well. Anyone who's not seen us before, this is a guitar news and tech news, music tech podcast that we do every week. and we talk about everything that's happened and talk about what we do on our channel as well, and catch up and generally chew the fat with the audience and answer questions, and sometimes even have special guests.
Oh, and hello to Twitch.
Yeah, hello to Twitch. We are live on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, and later we'll be on Spotify and iTunes.
All the places.
All the places. Using a funky thing called Restream, which I am due to do some videos for Restream about how that stuff works, because it's very clever indeed. So
It is indeed.
yes, I will be happy to make videos with those guys, because they make stuff that I genuinely use, as you can plainly see. If you are seeing us on Facebook, that's because of Restream, YouTube, Twitch, all because of that. But yeah, a lot of things have happened this week, and I've talked to a lot of people. I talked to the guys at IK Multimedia this week, who are very cool, very nice people.
Cool.
And so I'll be doing a video about Amplitude 5 at some point, because it really is a step up from Amplitude 3 and 4, which is very good. Another thing that I did this week is I spent an entire day filming footage for this upcoming Celestium video. And that was literally just the footage of just the speakers just sat there. That's how long it takes when you've got 25, 26 speakers. Eesh. But yeah, one of the things I couldn't find...
I went downstairs. Oh, go on. I went downstairs to read the gas meter, which is in one of the studio rooms. And it's just, you literally can't move for speaker boxes down there.
Yeah, it's getting a bit crazy at the moment. So I'm quite looking forward to finishing that video and then being able to either put them away or sell them on eBay.
Yeah, we need to sort the storeroom out properly, and because we've got all the space up in the main sort of the old green room, so that it can be used as well. So
yes.
I'm thinking that we need to sort out some studio storage, because there's plenty of room in the building. Like,
hello everybody. Yeah, well, and as Liam will have seen, there are lots of cardboard boxes around because of a project that I can't quite tell you about yet, but will be released very soon. And once that's out, then I'll be able to make better decisions as to whether everything can either go in the recycling or go into storage. And of course, having a lockdown in effect, a national lockdown, doesn't help. Makes things a little more difficult, but we do what we can. Yes, I have a new mixing project on the go as well as of this week, which hopefully I'll be able to do as a live stream and talk through that. That'll be cool.
Cool.
Yes, and so who else have I talked to? I had a 2-hour call with one of the guys from Line 6 on Tuesday.
Oh, right.
A guy called Ross. He was hilarious.
Yeah.
So we had a right natter. But of course, with a big company like Line 6, there is a chain of command and all that kind of stuff. So now I have to talk to certain people who have to talk to certain people. But there may be things in the works there. But don't hold me to it just in case, because it's a big company. But hopefully we'll be doing something, fingers crossed, with the Line 6 stuff. That'll be very cool, because they've come a long way since the Spider 2. Yes, indeed they have. And that'll be really interesting. I've just had a call with the guys at Fishman as well, so I'm hoping to do something with the Fluence pickups. That'll be very cool. So I've got a meeting tonight at midnight with another company about a video. So and that's not including this big list of stuff which I'm not going to show you because someone will take a still and read all my trade secrets. But lots going on everywhere. And it's keeping me out of trouble, which is good. Keeping me busy is the best thing, especially when there's the stress of things like moving house on the horizon. It's like
just make sure you give yourself the time to do that properly.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's my thinking, is the more I can get done now, the more I can just go, right, okay, I'm moving house now. That is done for a week. Let's go. Yeah, do it that way round. Also, it looks like Virgin Media, who do the fibre the super fast broadband around here, previously had an installation in the new house. So hopefully, all things being well, I'll already have an internet line when I move in. So there'll be no disruption. Should be able to do the podcast. One of the things I'm most looking forward to is having a bigger office, and I'll be able to have an amp rack behind me with proper big amps in the rack. that'll look really pretty on stream and also
That'd
be really useful as well. Because right now my two really cool amps are just making me tuck my knees up because they're underneath the desk.
If you've got super fast, video files maybe, but if you've got super fast broadband at home, then you may also be able to set up something for doing offsite backups remotely as well.
Yeah.
Because we've got obviously super fast internet here. If you've got it at home there, I mean, I know all the audio stuff gets dropped to Dropbox, but video stuff could easily set yourself up with a Synology or something.
Yeah.
And then you'd be synced.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure how I would do that, but I know that the internet I'm looking at is 500 megabit download.
Yeah.
So could
you just
work it so that
Yeah, if you just transfer your footage in the studio most of the time.
Yes.
Like then you would just download it in a second because it'll upload at a gigabit. Like our gigabit connection's been we're getting upgraded to a gigabit, I think, next month.
Right.
Because they couldn't, if you remember, because at the moment we're only on 300 up and down.
Yeah.
Because of the radio, so it's getting upgraded next month. So you'll have plenty of bandwidth to do offsite backups.
Yes.
Because you like it in triplicate, we know that.
I do. Belt and braces. If it doesn't exist in 3 places, it doesn't technically exist.
Yep.
Which reminds me, I must dig through the old studio archive drives, which don't exist in triplicate. So maybe I need to get on that. And
well, some of them maybe do, because I've got some backups of some stuff up here, haven't I?
Yeah, but it's all a little bit nebulous right now. We need to consolidate.
Yeah, well, I've got, there's something for off stream, but I've got a list of everything that's on all the drives, which I can share with you.
Cool.
I screenshotted all the drives one day. I plugged every single one in and screenshotted the file structure.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the drive I need is actually right next to me. So it's stuff from the studio that's not super old, but old enough that I've archived it off. So, yeah, there's something that I'm brewing with Warren Hewitt right now, which, again, may take a long time to come to fruition, but with a slightly older project, which I need to dig up.
Anyway, enough of the nattering between two old men.
Yes, it's time for the news, and it's a lot of news. The news.
News.
If you squint at this, does it look familiar?
It's not caught up on YouTube yet.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, it looks a bit like our Behringer desk.
There you go. That's exactly what I was getting at. Years ago, our first mixing desk in our studio was a Behringer Euro desk, which was a complete rip-off of the then current Mackie Onyx mixing desk. This is the new Mackie Onyx, which for 2020 is a little bit surprising to me, but yeah, Mackie have brought this forward. And
it's probably actually within 10 meters of me, that desk, because it's up there.
How about that? Yeah, so the Onyx 24 has been refreshed for 2021, and now you can have multi-track recording inside the desk, so it can record every track separately, and then you can take it away and mix it afterwards, which is a big step up in terms of usefulness for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the Mackie 8 bus was kind of the big desk, so the Onyx range I think might have been like the next level up from that. But the new Onyx, yeah, it's got USB out, multi-track recording, onboard effects. So it's very much like a lot of other modern desks now, but it's not a digital desk in the sense of like having one set of EQs that you have to push buttons to like activate this and that. It's all still laid out in front of you, which I know a lot of people prefer. Because that whole tactile thing in a live environment does save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you've only got a 1 hour show and you need to fix something in the space of a song, you don't want to be looking in menus for it. So I can appreciate the approach of something like this. But yeah, the fact that it's still going is kind of cool. And the price point isn't ridiculous. The Onyx 8, so the 8 channel, is €399 in euros. The 24, which is the big boy there, pictured, is €849. So
That sounds really good value.
Yeah, it's not dirt cheap, but it's not super expensive. I've seen desks that have this capability that are 2 or 3 times that, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not just it's a digital desk. You can record into it. You said, right?
Yes, I think it's digital in the
Yeah.
sense of the recording.
Yeah.
So slight correction. It can only record to stereo mix down into an SD card that's straight in there, but it's got a USB out. So if you've got a laptop or an iPad, you plug the USB out into the computer, and the computer can record every channel. So
That's really good value then. I mean,
it feeds all 24 tracks out.
Put it this way: if we were starting the studio now, coming straight out of uni, where we were, we would 100% buy one of these.
Probably.
Like for that value, because I mean, if you compare that to the old Roland Edirol thing that we started with,
Yeah.
like
Which
this is well
probably
better.
cost about as much as that and didn't even have preamps in it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit less. It was about 600, 650, something like 550, something like that.
Okay.
But I mean, it was, what was it like? Maybe like 8 in, 2 out. I think it was.
Yeah.
And those 8 ins required you to convert every other cable into something else. So
Yeah.
it wasn't 8 XLRs in or anything, was it? That's really good.
No,
I like
that's
that.
it, yeah.
I think
It'll appeal to a lot of
started
people, I think.
yeah, you can see a lot of like sort of rehearsal spaces. Be really good for like if you've got like a rehearsal space / recording studio where you're trying to sort of do both and just start it out.
Yeah.
Be a great little kit, or for the second room or whatever.
Yeah. You too can suck out loud on multiple channels.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing the preamps don't sound amazing.
Well, the Onyx stuff was always transparent. It didn't have any character to it, but it didn't sound bad if I remember rightly. So yeah, not sounding bad is a good start.
Yeah, so if it's clean enough going into the computer, and you can put it through your plugins and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Now that virtual preamps and that kind of thing are much more prevalent than they were back in the day. Yeah,
exactly.
That's what you would do. You could have super clean, boring, neutral preamps and then add interestingness on the top. Okay.
For live albums, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's another thing.
Thinking that old recording room at the Witchwood.
Oh,
it's the sort of thing that would go there in what are the practice rooms called? The Ark or whatever it was called. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a thing. Let's move on.
Cool.
So there's a lot of the interfacey stuff. So I only picked 3 interfaces. So this is one. I'm not friends with Antelope Audio yet, but I know people who are. So this is friends of friends. Antelope Audio have now made the Zen Go, which is an interesting proposition. This is almost direct competition, I would argue, with the Universal Audio, their small Apollo interfaces, which everybody knows I'm not a big fan of the Universal Audio stuff. But
no.
These look like an interesting proposition because it doesn't suck you into that similar kind of ecosystem money-wise, but it does have processing on board, and it's got 2 really nice preamps on the way in. I heard one of these this week, and the preamps were really quite clean. And yeah, you can. It's got things like the compressors and the virtual preamps and stuff inbuilt inside the interface. So you can record through them. But the way that their onboard circuitry works, you can record the completely clean input as well at the same time. So you can record 2 channels and have one that sounds really nice and one that's just clean, just in case you come back to it later and realize you messed it up. It's quite useful. But it means that you're not doing extra processing in your mix then. If you've got really nice sounding microphones through compressors and inputs, that kind of thing, it's that kind of old analog engineer type mentality where you pull up the mix and everything's kind of ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a very useful way of working. So yeah, it's €499, so or dollars if you include sales tax and such on top. which isn't the cheapest you're going to see for a two-channel interface, but it's got all that stuff
No.
inbuilt. I am not sure if I would pay that much money.
Again, talking about how far plugins have come, like, yeah.
Yeah, well, the Antelope stuff is pretty cool. And I mean, if you're doing live sound, but you're going out doing it as like onboard processing live, this might be interesting because the latency on it is next to zero.
Yeah.
So that's one way of doing it that's not many thousands of pounds. So it's interesting.
I mean, that makes sense.
Zach says, what do you think of the MIDI guitar? I have no idea what you mean, I'm afraid. Jamstick Studio? Nah, I've heard of Jamstick. It's not for me. Anyway, questions come at the end. Questions after the news, if anyone's got any questions. So let's move on, because that was an interface that kind of was like, okay, this one really caught my eye. This one, if the actual USB part of this is any good, is a literal game changer. Do you remember years ago I was raving about Blacklion audio? They're a company in the US that would take your equipment and modify it.
Yes.
To be like, yeah, Grammy Award winning level stuff. So those guys have been carrying on, and they have now made their own USB interface.
Okay.
Which
Interested.
really caught my eye. Because these guys are known for making the most ridiculous high quality. That's the inside of the interface. These are like really high quality Japanese capacitors and high headroom mic preamps, ridiculous quality. Completely decoupled main outputs. So, and somehow it's USB-C powered, which is impressive. And the thing that really gets me is this is Blacklion audio quality at $399, €399.
Maybe you could buy one of them then, won't you?
I'm going to wait for a few reviews, because God only knows they won't send me one of these for a review, because these are the kind of company that are a premium-based company. But
just call them up and say you're going to buy one if it's any good. Can I have a discount? Then you'll do a review. I mean,
you know what? I'll try. I will. Why not? But this is the kind
you have. I do remember you talking about that company and like talking about umming and ahhing about sending stuff off and if you could and whatnot.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't in the end is because the limited budgets we had at the time.
Exactly.
It wasn't just that we couldn't afford the mods. It was that if I sent one of our key pieces of gear off, for the months that it would take to ship to America, be modded and come back, we wouldn't have that piece of gear. So, you know, on reflection, probably should have done it, but never mind. But yeah, that is the kind of thing where right now I've got the Audient Evo at home, and the Audient stuff is brilliant, but it's built for a different price bracket. It's built for a different consumer.
Yeah.
The ID14 Mark II is really good. So for this to be the next level up is why it's double the price. And it doesn't even have ADAT input. It's got SPDIF, and that's it. So yeah, it's technically 4-channel in if you've got 2 more preamps, but it's actually two ins and 2 outs. But if it's as good as I think it would be, yeah, it's got like Vishay, Nishion, and Wema capacitors. So basically, the most cutting edge, high end gear in it. At that kind of price, I'm surprised they've managed to get it that cheap. So, yeah,
definitely. I was expecting it to be way more than that.
Yeah. Sorry, this is Zach in chat. What are you saying about the Mo 2 M4? I don't know. Anyway. So moving on, there was quite a bit of guitar news, but again, I didn't linger on guitar news this week because there's a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, yeah. So the Steve Vai Pier is the new Steve Vai signature, and this year there's been a lot of demand for one in flat black, because last year they came out with ones that were either typical Vai white, or they were luminous green, or they were bright yellow or bright pink. And now there's been enough demand for one that's a bit more classy, shall we say. And I think that's a really nice looking guitar.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I like it.
the whole tremolo thing and locking nut, it's not really very me. But if it was, this is definitely the kind of route I would go down. Very, very nice.
It's really nice. The cutout. Yeah, really smart.
So that's it. Steve Vai had the Gem model for 20, 30 years, which had that kind of monkey grip there. So they last year at NAMM, they changed it to the Pia, which was this one with the teardrops and some of the very fancy like etched pickups. I got to play the new Pia at Henning's house in July. Come on, what's her name? Guitarist for Evanescence, Jen Majora. Jen Majora had one with her, so she's like typical Jen. She's like, "Hey, do you want to play it?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." And it was very nice. Surprisingly loud guitar, actually. The wood just sang.
Cool.
So yeah, that in a classy colour that doesn't make me look like a guitar nerd on stage, which sounds strange, but depending on the band you're playing in, you don't always want to be the centre of attention. Sometimes you do. But yeah, depending on the band, I mean, that's the kind of thing I would play, because then if I was playing with a session band or even a covers band, I could step to the front and be fancy and flashy, but then step back into the background again and be part of the scene rather than the kind of, why is that guy playing a lime green guitar? That kind of thing, you know. I'm not quite material for a band like Steel Panther, so. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool looking guitar. Still expensive. They're probably about $4,000 for these things.
Wow.
But they are handmade in Japan. They are like the top tier. So yeah, I mean, they're the kind of thing where, yeah, if you're getting one of these, you're serious about it, but it's been handmade for you. So yeah, you know, at that price point, that's what you're getting. You're getting master craftsmen making something specifically for you, which I think is kind of fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to linger on guitars because we touched on guitars a lot last week. This week is monitors week.
Okay.
So, this is the first one. I found out about this a little while back, but it's now been officially announced. Ashdown have announced the NF1 and NF2 studio monitors, which look really funky. I mean, it's got the classic Ashdown VU meter, but also these look weird because these are actually two separate models. These are the black with a white front and the white with a black front. So you would get a pair of the left one or a pair of the right one, but stereo, you know. And there's also this one with two speakers in it. It's an absolute beast. That's the NF2. And I really, really want a pair of these. They are based on the old BBC LS3/5 broadcast monitors. Which, if that doesn't sell it to you, as these are basically a straight copy of no longer made vintage 70s BBC monitors, but with a funky VU meter as well, then yeah, if that doesn't do it for you, then you're probably not going to buy them, which is fine. They're not going to be for everybody. It is quite a vintage design, but it's the kind of vintage design that was made for like hundreds and thousands of productions use this design. So yes.
I really like them as well. They're just cool to me.
It's a style.
It's the British in me.
Yeah, I've had a love-hate relationship with Ashdown over the years, but it turns out that it was just because I had unfortunately picked the wrong Ashdown units for what I wanted, not knowing any better as a young bass player. Like I would. Go on.
An Ashdown cab that we've used as a coffee table for the past 10 years.
That's the one, and that was one of my touring bass cabinets as a touring bass player from being about 17 years old.
You just put a piece of glass on it and made it as a coffee table.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it is broken at this point. The speaker in that has gone, unfortunately. But yeah, the reason it got made into a coffee table is I mistakenly thought as a young bass player that big speakers meant more bass. You would think that, but in reality, that's not kind of how it works. Not on its own, anyway. It meant that it had less clarity, less treble, and more of a soft, kind of woofy sound, which turns out I wanted the opposite. I wanted lots of smaller speakers. So I got a 4x10, with 4 littler speakers, and that was exactly what I wanted. So the Ashdown didn't get used very often. But what I know now is that Ashdown makes some great stuff. Turns out John Myron from Dream Theater has been using Ashdown on the quiet for a long time.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the kind of thing where I'm looking at this stuff now and going, But yeah, these are not going to be super cheap either. The small ones are going to be £999. Woof. And the big ones are going to be $11.99. So actually not that much difference in price. Which means if I was going to get them, I would get the bigger ones. I've been looking for new monitors recently. I may put in a call. They're a British company after all. Okay, just bear with me a second. Okay, I'm just going to time out this young chat who keeps shouting about this is better, that is better. So trying to work here, my friend. And there is no interface in the world that is better than a pair of monitors, because that is not how this works. Anyway, so from that to this is really interesting from a different perspective. That if you've ever heard of Barefoot audio, Barefoot speakers are some of the biggest, best, most expensive speakers that you will get in pro audio. And there's a company called Output, and last year at NAMM, they announced that they were collaborating to make a new monitor, and it just didn't appear, which is where the whole vaporware in the title comes from. So, NAMM 2021, they are back, and they are back with a speaker that they call the Frontier, which looks quite small, actually, but it's going to be, from the specs of it, incredibly high quality for what it is. So Barefoot are known for quality above everything, and their prices reflect it. We're talking $5-6 for some of the Barefoot speakers, or even more. These are little things. So these have only got a 6.5-inch driver, which, that's normal speaker size, I would say, for a monitor manufacturing company. You can get bigger, but that's kind of standard, And somehow it goes down to 45 hertz, whether it actually goes down there or not, I don't know. Reaches up to 25k, which is great because you're not going to get any softening off or aliasing. It's roughly a 200 watt speaker. We're looking at a pair of these, €1,400. So I'll be very interested to see how these actually behave, because these are a very different design to your usual Barefoots, with a port on the front, which kind of looks a bit weird to me, but it's got this wooden block on the bottom, which it looks like the wood is technically like decoupled from the rest of the speaker, which could help to stop it vibrating. And actually, looking at the size of that XLR, it's slightly larger than I thought it was. The picture in situ was actually a little bit deceptive. So these look a little bit bigger than I thought, but not huge. And very simple design on the front. So we'll see how they behave, but they should be coming at some point fairly soon, hopefully. If the vaporware of the previous announcement was anything to go by, it may be a while before we see them. Especially with all the COVID slowdowns and the European slowdowns and everything we've been seeing recently, that could mean that it's a while before we see anything.
Yeah,
but hopefully we do, and we'll see if anyone we know gets hold of a pair of these. So, actually, that's a NAMM 2019 article that somehow slipped through the net. So never mind about that. Whoop.
Wow.
Yeah, well, there was a big load of articles about monitors in a row, so I thought, monitors, and then didn't see that until just now. Thankfully, I caught that. Whoops. So, this is something that I thought was interesting. So, Moog's Model 15 app is now available for macOS Big Sur because Big Sur has been a bit of an issue in the Mac world, apparently.
Yeah.
Because, there's been this thing which always irks me about the latest macOS, which is, oh, don't upgrade for a while because things might not work. Apple, what are you doing? I don't know. To have people have to fear for their lives where every time you make a major OS update, it means you're not writing your OS very well, are you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough to know why that is the case, but I do think that it's like whenever you get Windows updates, they just happen in the background, and it's never really a big deal. Like, and if it is, it's every like 2 or 3 years there's a Windows update that bricks stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, if there were 3 or 4 macOS revisions and then there was a major change, I get that. Underlying code has to sometimes change every long milestone for reasons, but the fact that it happens every time, that worries me. But yeah, hopefully this works with the new M1 Max natively as well, but it doesn't say it anywhere, so it probably doesn't. But yeah, this the cool modular Moog app is $29.99 from the App Store and is a Logic plugin, which is kind of cool. It looks like someone's turned their Mac screen on the side so you can see the whole thing, which is kind of cool because the old modular Macs were all about the patching and that kind of thing. And yeah, very funky. So yeah, check that out. It's hang on, Mac OS Big Sur, but it's all that looks like an iPad to me. I mean, yeah, so it looks like that now that Apple are doing more of the cross-platform between iOS and macOS. Maybe that's it. Oh, off-topic question time from Chris. Neural DSP Gojira opinions. Looks cool. That's all I've got to say about that. So this is something that caught my eye. Harrison Consoles, who make what's it called? They make that DAW that's got its own sound. Come on, brain. I'm just having brain farts today. I've been working a lot and now my brain's gone. It's Harrison Mixbus. There we go. Harrison Mixbus is the one. I've been wanting to do a video on that for ages, but just never got around to it.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, Harrison Mixbus. It's Harrison used to make mixing desks in the 70s that were on par with like Neve and those kind of people. They were serious, yeah. Like there are albums from people like Stevie Wonder that were done on Harrison desks. And for whatever reason, they're not nearly as big, didn't get the prestige that Neve got, but they still pretty cool. And they make a DAW called Mixbus, where every channel automatically sounds like a Harrison mixing desk, which is really cool. And they've been developing their own plugins, which for a long time only worked in Harrison Mixbus, but now they do this AVA thing where they've essentially realized that they should be getting their plugins out so you can use them with other DAWs. And so Bass Flow is their bass channel strip for pro low end. And this caught my eye because it looks kind of cool. It's got a spectral bass compressor, which sounds funky, and a bass character control, so you can change how subby or how growly the bass is, on top of a very complicated looking equalizer. So yeah, very, very cool. As Mage says, there's also AVA vocal flow. But yeah, there's bass chorus control there, and this you can change what order everything goes in, which is really useful for bass because depending on the order you put things in, you get very different sounds. And yeah, I thought that was just a really interesting thing that's come out there. And it's now $89 as a plugin, which is still a little much for a single plugin, but it looks quite intuitive. So if that's exactly the kind of thing you're looking for, then there it is. But yeah, I might check out Harrison Mixbus at some point in the future.
That's down from 179 as well.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know where these guys are getting their plugin pricing from. It might help to explain why they don't have crazy sales, but... Yes. Oh, that reminds me. I'll see if I can come up with the. I got an email from Two Notes earlier. There we go. So, if you have been wanting any of the Two Notes packs, I'll just move this a little bit so you can read it. There we go. They're doing a 30% off sale right now with the code NAMM. WOT-no-NAM. What no NAM. And that just really amused me that, yeah, there's no actual NAM, so that in lieu of that, they've done a sale of, yeah, what no NAM.
Like it.
Yes, so there you go. Now, moving on. Apple.
Is there anything good you can get with Two Notes, though?
What?
Is there anything good you can get with Two Notes? Any sort of virtual cabinets that anyone might like?
I can think of a few.
Okay.
There are several on there. Actually, we released 9 new cabinets last week.
Oh,
Yeah.
did we?
We did. Like three different Fender Twins, a new 8x10, or was it two? No, a new 8x10, a base 4x12 cabinet from Ampeg. Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff on there now. There's more bass gear on the Two Note store, courtesy of us. Hey.
Ooh,
indeed.
go check it out.
Check it out. So, apparently the Apple rumor mill has gone a little bit crazy recently. Apparently there's a redesign of the MacBook Pro incoming, as inevitably there always is, but rumors abound that there may actually be a USB-A port on there, thank the heavens. And MagSafe is apparently coming back, which is due to very high demand. I mean, MagSafe was one of the cleverest things that Apple ever did, and one of the things I always gave them credit for. And then they went, hey, we're going all Thunderbolt. No, we don't need MagSafe. What do you mean? And then people's laptops go, yoink, don't smash.
Yeah. Well, they're calling the charging ports on the iPhone 12 MagSafe as well, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, and there's a rumor that they reckon that there's going to be an update at some point where they reckon that iPhones through the magnetic or just the wireless charging will be able to charge peripherals. So you'll be able to basically attach your like AirPods to the back of your phone and charge them from your phone. They reckon the functionality is in the iPhone, but it's currently turned off.
Interesting. I always thought the limitation was the lightning cable or the lightning port wasn't able to deliver the power. Because I know, actually, now you've said that, the latest iPad Pros that have USB-C, they can power a full audio interface straight off the iPad. They can
but this is
nearly an amp.
But this is just from the back of the phone I'm talking about.
Oh, from the back of the phone.
Yeah, so the MagSafe stuff on iPhones is that the back is magnetic, so you can attach devices to it. So the new wireless charging ports clip onto the back. They stick just like the MagSafe stuff used to.
Right, okay.
And they're saying that they reckon the new AirPods or some other device they haven't released yet is going to clip to the back of your phone and it'll be able to be charged from your phone.
Interesting. Now, the MagSafe in the phone, though, thinking about it, all they have to do is put a couple of small magnets either side of the NFC charging port, which still they should do because that's clever. The number of times, I mean, I refuse to use the wireless charging in my iPhones because it's flipping useless. But my good mate John Brown swears by it. He's got wireless charging everywhere, and half the time he puts his phone on his charger on his desk, and if it's not lined up perfectly, it won't charge.
Oh, mine's fine. I've got one right here. And I've got one by my bed.
Have you not found that you need to be super duper specific?
Not usually. I mean, now you said that, it's not working, but it usually does.
Is that just because you've got used to putting it on exactly right because you're the kind of person who does that?
Nah. I'm crap at shit like that.
Oh, fair enough. What have I done here? I pressed the wrong button.
You broke it now.
I unbroke it. There we go. Yeah.
You didn't.
The charging. Oh, that's entirely your fault. So we've passed most of the NAMM news. Let's talk about a free plugin if people want it. The Plugin Alliance, who I like Plugin Alliance recently. I've been using their plugins and they're really good. You can get the Plugin Alliance Ampeg SVT VR Classic plugin, so the Ampeg VR Classic head, for free, for the next couple of weeks. So you need to go to their website, to the Plugin Alliance website, and grab this. And there's a code somewhere. Yeah, Ampeg for free. Capital letters Ampeg-4-free. It's usually $100. So that's $100 worth of free. It's another plugin to clog up your list.
Cool.
But honestly, I could have done with this years ago because I love Ampeg bass heads and the sound of them. I don't always want an actual bass head steaming away. But I've always liked the kind of warm fatness of Ampeg heads. And I had the old Ampeg SVX version of the SVT Classic, which sounds great, but any other one that I've tried just doesn't cut it. Just doesn't quite do it, you know. But yeah, and this has come along recently, and the demos I've heard, it sounds pretty good.
Cool.
So yeah, you'll probably want a cabinet in between that and your mixing setup. But that's the thing you can do with the 2 Notes Wall of Sound plugin and one of our cabinets. Hey! Hey, how about that? So yeah, go get that now. Plugin Alliance, Ampeg for free. So, moving on from that, this is one I've been talking about for a while. I don't know if you remember me mentioning that I got the impression that Native Instruments were in trouble.
Right.
It's something, I don't remember when I mentioned it last, but Native Instruments, who make Complete, Contact, yeah, not doing that well recently. They've now been acquired by a technology investor that plans an end-to-end music creation platform. So basically a DAW, I guess, which is not going to go well. There's already too many competitors in that arena. But yeah, EMH partners and Native Instruments founders have become minority shareholders. So yeah, Francisco Partners has acquired majority ownership. So they've had a big cash injection. And yeah, we'll see how they do. But hopefully their management can now steer them in the right direction with a cash injection, because they behaved very strangely over the last several years. But in some ways, the Complete bundle has kind of, I think, saved them, because a lot of people that buy like instrument packs and virtual instruments need Contact, or at least quite a lot of them need the full version of Contact to work, which means that a lot of people end up then going on to buy stuff from Native Instruments. Yeah. And so, okay, bye-bye. That was all there. It was an interesting development. That I thought, you know what?
Wait and see, really, isn't it? One of those.
Yeah. Oh, I've just checked on the YouTube studio page, and it was saying an error occurred with the video. Hopefully everything's fine. I think it is. Yeah, it's fine. It just had a bit of a panic.
Except for the fact you full on broke my wireless charger, Adam.
Yay! I talked about it, and now it's broke.
I know.
That's what happens.
What you like?
I'm an idiot who nearly swallowed a slice of orange peel because that was in my drink. Tasty, though. Orange peel, not good to chew. Blah. Anyway, moving on to a rather interesting topic this week.
Okay.
So Gearslots, which is one of the main kind of forums that people used to go to for gear. I say used to because at this point it's full of middle-aged rich people who tell you everything was better in the olden days, and that if you haven't got lots of money, you're doing it wrong. To whittle it down, There are other
right.
things. There is helpful stuff on there as well, but that's the general gist that a lot of people get, including myself. But yes, there's been a big kind of round debate recently about they should change the name because it's not a nice name.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It's a bit problematic in 2021.
Yes, exactly. It's the kind of thing that I think was very tongue-in-cheek at the time, but at the time it was also a very small website that was just kind of not on anybody's radar, so nobody really said anything because unless you were an absolute nerd in the industry, you probably hadn't even heard of it. As it happens now, they are one of the top resources to go to for advice and, well, just general resources. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of the site, but that aside, they have, or at least the founder, Julian Standen, has agreed to this recent call to change the name and has said, to his credit, you know what, fair enough, you've got a point, let's do it. And yeah, completely give him that. Well done. So I don't know what they're going to change the name to yet.
Oh, they've not announced that yet.
No, but I think they're opening that up. They're opening that up for discussion rather than just hastily changing it. They've now said we intend to change it. What should we change it to? And I think that is just as good as just changing it immediately, because now the dialogue has been opened and they've been clear about, yeah, it's not a good name. I think that's fair, because now if anyone has anything bad to say about it, they can now at least say they know it's being changed. So, yes, that's good. Oh, wow. The website came out in 2003. I was using it in 2004. I had no idea it was so new at the time, because at the time everybody who was on it was all in their 50s and thought they knew everything. So it was as if they'd been there since the dawn of time, which is really interesting, because now the website, if you join that in your early 30s, that actually kind of rings a bit more true now. Interesting. But yeah, the petition was only started a week ago to change this and hit 5,000 signatures, which is why the owners very quickly stood up and went, yeah, actually, let's do that. So, yeah. Hopefully that gets changed soon and to a name that does the right thing.
Why not?
Okay.
Not hurt anyone.
Yes. All right. Moving on. So it's time for Behringer Corner. Behringer Corner. Okay, so it's NAMM 2021's last article. Behringer reveals the Blue Marvin and Grey Meanie 2600 editions. So, yes. Not sure where the names come from.
Gear promiscuity.
Yeah. Gear promiscuity. Gear consensual promiscuity.
Gear nuts.
I don't know if that's much better. Because that could be taken the wrong way very quickly. I think
it could be.
This is why it's being open to a forum, I think. But yeah, these were based on the very, very original versions of the ARP 2600. So I don't know if it's just a color scheme, because the original 2600 wasn't. Apparently the blue version was the very first version of a 2600, which was quite fragile because it was new and they hadn't really thought it through. It was made of unreliable chips and fragile wood and a metal case design that didn't hold up. And then they made the grey version, which was the version 2, which apparently they only made 35 of these. It was the first to actually be made in a factory. And then later on, they came out with the actual 2600 production model that everybody knows, which is to be expected when you're a small company. Then you grow, and then you know there's some success, so you invest, and then poof, So, Behringer have gone back to pay some detailed tribute here, which I think is kind of cool. I don't know if there is any actual difference here. The change is a switch to a single coloured LED on all the faders, giving it a more sedate and serious look. Okay, so it's not like RGB on all the faders where it would have been on the main Behringer version, I guess.
Right.
There's other improvements: dual filter, another LFO, VCO sync, USB MIDI. But that seems to refer to all of the 2600 versions. So this is largely just a colour palette swap for those who are really nerdy and into the specifics, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. I mean, it's a little nod. I mean, Behringer get bashed a lot, and often for good reason. But this is a small point in their favour, I think, that they're trying to show that they know the history of this particular piece of gear, and they care enough to make versions that pay tribute to the old ones.
Mm.
Yeah, for all the bad they do, this is the little thing. So price $700, should ship next month.
Oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a choice, I'd probably get a blue one, but then $700 is still a lot of money for me to spend on a synth I'd probably use once and then stick back in the box. Yeah, so there you go. That was Behringer Corner, and that's the end of their news.
It would look good in the studio, though.
It would look great in the studio.
It's very visual, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
all the little slide stuff.
Yeah. Depending on how much space we end up with in the new rack when we get the new rack, who knows? Did I tell you we're getting a new rack, by the way?
No.
I think I mentioned last week that kind of the desk has had its day and the desk is going to go.
Yeah.
So in its place, one of my friends, Ross Halden, from Home Studio in Bradford, has a big 2 wide and I think 20 tall wooden rack unit that is not being used. So I said, yeah, I'll have that.
That makes much. So just basically a lot more outbound gear hardware rather than a desk that doesn't get used. Yeah.
Exactly. It means that I can then grow the gear out to the side rather than be limited to just the space I've got. Mm-hmm. Which I thought would be particularly useful as we grow and we get sent more stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. So there you go. That's the plan. Although it is a little too big, apparently, this rack to fit in my car. But as luck would have it, I'm moving house in a few weeks. Like I said at the start of the podcast, I'm going to have a van for a little while. Just turn up and just be like, yeah, just leave it outside. I'll stick it in the van. Yeah. So that'll happen. And then I'll make a video on the channel about the final death of the analog desk.
Mm.
I say final death. I'm not going to get an axe hammer out and smash it, but
no, don't do that.
No. Although arguably, I could probably make more money off the ad revenue of a video like that than I'd get selling it.
No, but it's so pretty.
I know. It's a good desk.
Just drop top of the building. That'll get you some money.
Yeah.
People like watching videos of people dropping stuff, so.
Oh, yes, they do. Have you ever heard of a YouTuber called Tom Scott?
No.
Very clever, always wears red shirts. English, very English. He's kind of well known. He's the red shirt, clever guy. And his original claim to fame, their original YouTube video 10 years ago, was he was stood in front of a cliff, I think at Dover, and he just shouts to the camera, a drum kit falls off a cliff, and then drums just behind him just go boom, boom, psh, and just fall off the cliff. So yeah, you're quite right. People like things dropping.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the other one is I didn't realise that there's a channel I watch all the time called Loading Ready Run, and they were famous back in the day on The Escapist for this thing called the Daily Drop. and the daily drop, they had a slow motion camera, and every day they'd release a video where they dropped something onto the floor and filmed it at 1,000 frames a second. And it was a massive series like 10 years ago. So yeah, maybe I should bring that back and just start dropping Behringer gear at 1,000 frames a second.
Oh dear.
Anybody in the chat got any questions for us?
Yeah, any questions for us or for Adam or like?
Yes. Well, questions for us both. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having an amp rack behind me in the new setup. And I'm actually going to set the room up in such a way that the amp rack is in shot. Even if it means I have to get a longer speaker cable or XLR or whatever to get around to the interface where I am, I don't care. How many stories has my new home? I mean, well, it was built several years ago. I'm sure there have been several stories told in there. It's a regular English house. It's got 2 stories. They almost all do in England, you know. It's because of the geography of the country, there are not many houses with things like basements, and attic conversions are expensive. What finish is the rack? What rack?
The rack you buy in.
The rack I'm buying. Oh, wood. Dark wood. I didn't look too closely. I've seen it once in his studio, and I didn't just stand like a nerd looking at the wood. But I got word, because again, national lockdown, I've not seen people very much. I got word that he's actually built a 3-wide bigger rack to go in its place. So he was selling the other one, and I instantly called him and said, I'll have it. But yeah, I think it's kind of dark, slightly red. So yeah, there you go. You'll see it more when I go and get it. Question from Piplodocus: is Ableton 11 worth it as an upgrade? I don't know. What does your current version do? What does version 11 do? Are those new features something you're going to use? If not, it's not worth it. If so, it's worth it. Just be entirely analytical about it. Bigger numbers on software do not mean better. They usually, especially with something that's got that many numbers on it, mean more new features. And if you want those new features, great. If you're not sure, Google that version and what the new features are. Watch the video and look at it. And if you're going, none of this interests me, don't spend the money. But if you're looking at it going, that's really cool, that is something, I want that, then it's worth the money.
Indeed.
There you go. Can you make an IR of an Ampeg SVT 8x10 cab? Yes, you can. Will I? Probably not. I had an Ampeg 8x10 a while back, and I sold it, which was a bit silly of me. But there's already an Ampeg 8x10 on the 2-Note store. It would be kind of a conflict for me to do that, because there's already one there, you know. 11 does comping. It's pain through the nose to get comping. I mean, do you need comping bad enough? If not, don't do it. If you really need comping that bad, though, you probably shouldn't be using Ableton. So, there you go. And Poo Ninja says, my back thanks me for selling that Ampeg 8x10. Yeah, you say that, but I've now got at least one 8x10 of a different brand. For a while, I had a Marshall 8x10. I've now got a PV 8x10. I'm a sucker for 8x10 bass cabs. I love them. They sound amazing. But
don't worry, Anon. You can always watch the podcast back. Because it's here forever.
And ever and ever. Until YouTube decides that they're not around anymore, which is probably not going to happen. No. They'll last forever, just like MySpace.
Yeah. MySpace is still going.
Yeah, but they don't have any of the tracks on there. There was a server crash and they lost all the tracks.
I know, they lost the music that I'd left on there that I thought, oh, it's all right, it'll be on MySpace.
Yeah, me too. I was very upset.
Yeah, old songs that I made with a band at uni.
Yeah, I was looking at that only a few weeks ago, actually, looking at it going, no, what? I wish this stuff was still here.
Yeah.
Some of the hard drives that I had some of that music on is long since dead. Which is, again, why you should save things in triplicate, because then if one drive dies when it's old, you might be able to rescue it off another one.
Or if a company like MySpace has a server crash and loses all your stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just because it's on Dropbox doesn't mean that Dropbox couldn't lose it all.
Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah. So Major Prometheus says, have you checked out Reaper 6.20 yet? Yep, installed it earlier. Works exactly the same as Reaper 6.19. I can't see any new features in there, which is not a problem. If there are any issues that have been fixed, great. It's one of the few programs, Reaper, where I update every time and I'm not worried about something breaking. Whereas with something like Premiere, I hesitate every time now, because like I had Premiere 14.6, I upgraded to 14.7, the whole thing broke. I had to go back.
Oh, yeah.
Recently updated to 14.8, and it works for now. So yeah, Reaper's one of the few where I just a new update's available, click, and I think that's broken things once in 10 years. That's pretty good going, considering they make 40 or 50, maybe more revisions between major versions. So if I'm updating, God, I must have updated 250 times with Reaper as a rough guess. Because I do it every time, because it comes up at the start when you launch a program, it tells you. And I just click yes, because it's so quick. And so, yeah, there you go. Loads fast if you turn off scan VSTs. Loads fast for me anyway. The only reason it would be slow scanning VSTs is if you've got a VST that needs a first scan. For me, if nothing's been updated, then it's just... any explanation about repack in the course? It gets a mention. It does get a mention. Repack is the thing you can get now that you install into Reaper, and then it gives you a big massive list of all the upgrades and mods and stuff that you can get, and you just double click and it downloads them, installs them, and sorts it all out for you, which is really cool. That wasn't always around. But yeah, if you want themes and extra extensions and that kind of thing, now you can just search for them in this little menu, double click them, and it does the rest for you. It's really cool. So yes, I do talk about repack in the course. Not to the nth degree. There's only so much you can talk about with it, because it's fairly self-explanatory once you've installed it. But I do talk about that, and I talk briefly about SWS extensions as well. There is a chapter in the Ultimate Reaper Guide about all the extra stuff you can do with Reaper, the like advanced stuff, and that's definitely part of it. So yes, good question.
Cool.
So yeah. Have I done anything with the old Marshall amp? This is two questions from Al. No, not yet. So the old 1978 Marshall amp that I have has not been touched since it was bought last month. Again, because the UK is in a national lockdown, I can't currently take it to the amp tech. Because he's in his 70s. His health hasn't been the best anyway, so he is very rightly saying, I'm not even doing pick up and drop off until we're out of the lockdown, which is completely fair. So as soon as things de-escalate a certain amount, I'll be able to then drop that off with him. And it'll probably only be a few weeks before the Marshall lives again. I mean, technically it lives now, but because I don't know what's been done to it, it can't be trusted. So that's the main thing with it. It's not that it's broken, it's that it's a very unknown quantity. And I don't like that. I mean, I have quite a bit of old equipment, but this, in terms of old equipment, is something that, it's a fire-breathing monster of a valve head that's been modified, but by who we don't know, how we don't know. So it's going to be taken to an expert to look at it all, verify that it's safe. If it's not safe, make it safe. And then certify it as safe. So, yeah, at that point, I'll be able to then really play it on the channel and show it off. And any news on when I might get the bass guitar? News has developed on that. For anyone who is slightly aware, we started the process of building a custom bass at Christmas. I got an email from Warmouth yesterday, day before. They had made the bass body and they sent it to quality control and it failed. Failed quality control. Oh. Yeah. Which sucks, but they caught it and they just sent me a message and said, "We're really sorry about that. We'll make another one." Cool. Which is cool. Yeah. And they sent me a list of tops for the, because it was specified as having a nice custom pretty top. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. There we go. And yeah, so the pretty top died along with the failed body. So they got me to pick another one free of charge. That's nice. So there you go. Cool. Yeah, so that's going to arrive at some point, probably in 4 to 6 weeks. It's going to be a long time before that bass is finished, though. Not only will I then have to buy all the electronics and all that kind of stuff for it, but the neck is going to be the long part, because Dirk Bagley from Bagley Guitars is going to design that specifically as a custom job for us. And that's going to take months. I mean, the poor guy's already so busy, it's crazy. This is the guy who makes the aluminium guitar necks. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's pictures of him polishing these aluminium necks, and he's so covered in the aluminium polish, he looks like one of the backstage crew for a Rammstein show. He's just like black, and it's funny to look at, but it's just like oof. So yeah, what an absolute hero he is. I didn't really even know that aluminium guitar necks was still a thing, because I knew that like Kramer's had used them in the 70s, but I thought the whole thing had kind of died at that point. But it turns out it was very much still a niche thing. And yeah, Dirk Bagley's really kind of bringing it back, so it's much more of a thing. That was really cool. So yeah, but yeah, because he's designing something completely custom for me, that's going to take a while. So yeah, but the whole project is a long-term project, which is cool, but that's the expectation. It's not going to be done within the next month or two. So if you don't hear about it for a while, it's just taking its time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, a few more questions. Have you ever tried the Rode NT1, and how would you say it compares to an Aston Origin? Yes, I have. The NT1 is kind of boring, kind of dull, very low noise floor, has a couple of horrible presence spikes in it that make it sound nicer than it is until you actually come to mix it and realise that the S and sibilance is really painful because of the way the mic responds. Yeah, so the Aston Origin beats it hands down because it's got a much more natural sound to it, which means it's much easier to work with. You can change the sound of the Origin without going, oh, Jesus, oh, ow. Yeah, so there you go. Running a 10-year-old top-spec MacBook, but that's kind of another reason to get Live 11, because there finally may be a new computer on the horizon. Yes. So let's have a look. Yeah, so I think that's all the questions for this week. Cool. So I will get this podcast straight up on iTunes first thing in the morning, because I now have to wait, I've realised, to get a copy of the podcast off YouTube because of the way that it's done, to then strip the audio out of it. Oh, I wonder if I can do that off Twitch. I might be able to do that quicker. Twitch's VODs are like live as they're going live. We can watch them whilst they're still going out. So, but can you download it? As soon as you go offline, I think you can. Yeah. Right. Okay. And in that case, I'll check that out, because I've found the way that I have OBS set up on here is a little bit weird. That you're supposed to be able to record to the hard drive at the same time, but I have that set to do a separate file type with the most ridiculously big files. So if I'm doing any capture and any kind of stuff for the channel that's not the podcast, it gets stored in like super high quality so I can use it for edits. But changing that back to just recording the podcast is a huge pain in the backside. Right. So yeah, it makes more sense for me to do it a few hours later. But yeah, there you go. One last question. Marty asks, Reaper on a Pi for small venue recording. You mean Reaper on like one of these Pis? The Raspberry Pi 400? I'd do it. These things are absolutely rock solid. The only question is the interface you have. Is it class compliant? Does it have enough channels? This thing has USB 3 on it, so you can stick a USB 3 hard drive on it and record as many channels as you like silently. And yeah, running Reaper on Linux, it's as stable as you like. And I am going to be making a video on this as soon as I reasonably can. But because of some of my prior commitments to other companies, like I was saying, the list, which is a full page list, as soon as some of those commitments are cleared, I'll be able to focus on videos for myself. Like, hey, you can make audio stuff on a keyboard now. I mean, considering the kit that these come in, they come with like a how-to book and a mouse and all sorts of little goodies. These are £99, and they are fast, very fast. Did you see the announcement today of the Raspberry Pi Pico?
I did not.
The Raspberry Pi Pico. Nobody's going to be doing any mixing on this, but I'll just quickly switch back to Zinew's view. This is a Raspberry Pi Pico. That is tiny. And yeah, the processor runs at I think 130 megahertz.
Mm-hmm.
So like a tenth of the speed of a Raspberry Pi 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got holes for instead of pins. It's the size of a stick of gum, but that's the entire thing. And I think they cost $4.
Cool.
Yeah, $4 for that. So it's got dual core ARM processor at 133 megahertz, 264 kilobytes of RAM, and 26 GPIO pins, micro USB port, temperature sensor. So it doesn't even come with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It is literally, these are the things where you program something and then stick it inside a robot or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they're so tiny and use so little power. So yeah, these are the next level of micro little robot programming, because they're smaller than my thumb, which is
that's cool.
Yeah, considering it's $4 and it comes with all the pins and stuff. So if there is anything you want to attach to it, you just wire it into the pins. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, I don't know if you'd run full Linux on that. I doubt it somehow.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's enough RAM.
No, not for like Ubuntu 12. God only knows how you would even do stuff. But it looks like, I'm thinking that's going to be like their answer to Arduinos.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of Arduino boards do. They don't have huge amounts of RAM or anything like that. They don't have operating systems.
No, they don't. I've got one in a drawer over there, yeah.
Yeah, and it just does whatever simple things you program it to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would imagine maybe you could even program this using a full-size Pi.
I'd imagine that, now you said that, yeah, it looks like it's so that you don't need to buy an Arduino and a Pi to do like robotic stuff, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Just buy.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing they're going for with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very, very, very clever. I wonder if like you could use the USB port and I don't know, maybe have like a USB stick somewhere else in the unit that's like a keylogger or something that just keeps logs of what's happening, and then hook the power up to a couple of these pins instead. There's actually a debug pin there, so you can step-by-step decode and debug what's going on it. Roxjar says you can run MicroPython on it. Ooh, I like the sound of MicroPython. It's like Python, but you have to type with very small fingers. But yeah, so that came out. Not going to be doing any mixing on that, but yeah, the fact that the the Pi Foundation exists at all and does some very cool stuff is really awesome to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm still on the search. I'm still on the lookout for an on-the-fly recompiler from x86 to ARM. So basically, Mac's Rosetta 2 on the new MacBooks. If you know about that, the new M1 Macs can run PC code on the fly.
Yeah.
If there is eventually some way that's not really, really hacky of doing that on an ARM-based device that is not owned by Apple, that would be the first step, I think, in terms of getting things like external VSTs and processing onto here. And it wouldn't be super efficient, but that's not necessarily the point. If I can do like a full mix on here and I only want one external plugin or maybe two, that might be enough that I could actually do full mixes on one of these. And
that's cool.
Yeah, considering that a lot of people around the world, their biggest struggle in terms of doing things like mixing is still budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you can get like a really cheap old monitor and like just the bundle that has a Raspberry Pi and it actually is the keyboard and comes with a mouse, all you need then is a reasonably affordable interface, which is really what you need at all, full stop anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're off. So for a not unreasonable amount of money, you could have a full production system.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Very cool indeed.
Oh, right. Let's end on the question from the Bommel. What was your worst gig? Do you want to start this one? Because I'm sure you've had some rough gigs. I mean, you're an emo fan. You must have gone to some terrible gigs.
Top of my head, I can't think. Worst gig? Can't think of any bad ones. There must be one. I don't know. Not that I can think of.
My worst gig. Go on. My worst gig was one I played when I was 14. It was my first ever gig that I played at. I was so nervous, it was ridiculous. I was this lanky little stick of a kid. I didn't know what I was doing, and I actually introduced the band. We were the first band on an all-dayer, which means nobody was there. We pretty much played to an empty room. And, you know, the echo of mild applause in between each song is always going to stick in my head.
I mean, yeah, the only thing I think, some of the gigs that we did similar when we had the label, we went with bands and had a similar thing turned up, and there was like just no one there because it was meant to be some form of all-dayer. Yeah, I can definitely think of some all-dayers that were probably pretty garbage as well. But no, any of the gigs that I played were all awesome. Like the Lock-In Red House and stuff. But no, yeah, I'd concur. All-dayers, for especially when it's an all-dayer for upcoming bands where they have to sell the tickets.
Oh, yeah.
They were the worst.
Yeah. Although I do remember some of them ending up okay, because by the time our band got to that point, we had a little following going on, and we had a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't know, yeah. Our old band, Spiderbuck, by the time we were at our height, we probably had a crowd of 60, 70 people, which for a local, small-time teenage band, it's all right.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever reached the dizzy heights of Shadowlands, but yes, you must sell the tickets. It's so true. Anyway, that's probably a fun point to end this week's podcast. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Look forward to more videos between now and the next podcast, because there will be some. And I have a lot to do between now and then. And hopefully I'll be able to talk about some more of it by then, because I don't like keeping secrets from all of you guys. But NDAs, what they are, we do what we must. So,
indeed.
Until then, I bid you all fair adieu. And so does Liam, of course.
I do. I'm just gonna, yeah. I don't know who this Ace person is. Says you look snug as a bug in a rug. I do. This new hoodie is amazing. I would recommend the brand if I had it more than 5 minutes and didn't know what it will do in the wash machine. But indeed, I will see you all next week.
Thank you very much. See you then. Goodbye. Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hop Hole Studios. See you there.